Hello, everybody, and welcome. Well, this is it. This is Election Day, November 3rd, 2020. This has been a long time coming, longest 4 years of my life. I don't know about you. And this Election Day might be the longest week of your life because we're not going to know right away, even though the president would love us to know tonight. We'd all like to know tonight, but there's a lot of variables. What is disturbing to me is the way this president makes it sound like this has never happened before. Like you always know the winner on the night. Does the Associated Press announce a projected winner historically? Yes, they have, except in the case of Gore versus Bush back in 2000 that ended up going to the Supreme Court. And the president is counting on this going to the Supreme Court. I'll play a clip in just a few minutes that proves that. Instead of just letting the system work, as I've said many times in the past, this president continues to throw out red herrings and try to make it sound like this is some type of corrupt enterprise, when in fact, this is the way the system works. If you're a soldier in Afghanistan, Iraq, or anywhere else in the world, your ballot will not be here necessarily today. There are multiple states where they cannot begin to count the mail-in ballots until the polls close at either 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, depending on where you are. So with that in mind, the president disregards those facts and is whining that he wants to know tonight. There's no reason we shouldn't know tonight. Well, he's got to know. There are multiple reasons that we will not know tonight. We have a record number of mail-in ballots, as I said, and those are going to take a long time to process. We also have the situation with a record number of votes, period. So, and as the rules go, by the way, if you're watching this live and you haven't voted and you're registered, you could still go stand in line right now. If you get there before 7 o'clock in Ohio, you're fine. As long as you're standing in line, you will be allowed to vote, even if the polls close at 7. If you're in that line, now I'm saying, I don't mean you're going to pull up at 7:30 and jump in line. What I'm saying is, if you're in line and the polls close at 7, you will be able to vote. And I think it's very important. I couldn't wait. I voted the first possible day. A lot of people are traditionalists and they chose to vote today. But this is a very important day. I'd like to hear what you think, how you think this is going to turn out. Your thoughts are welcome. Give us a call at 330-595-1600. That's 330-595-1600. I'd love to hear from you. Oh, did I even say who I am? I'm Mo Ray, and this is The Other Side of Talk. And I'm pleased to be with you. And to be honest, this has been an emotional roller coaster for me, this day, that is. By the way, yesterday was my birthday, and I just hope I'm going to get a good birthday present. And for me, that would be a brand new president. So we'll see what happens. At this moment, it's still questionable. But one thing, I was talking to some of the guys here before we started. I don't believe these record numbers of voters, people who've never voted before, people who registered specifically to vote in this election. I don't think that is a good thing for Donald Trump, particularly the people in the case of the African-American community, which last time only 8% of blacks voted for Donald Trump. He may see a slight uptick this time. I'd be surprised if he gets 10%. But the majority of blacks are not voting for Trump. End of story. And also, you've got to look at there's been a shift in some of the seniors. They're very concerned about the way he's mishandled the COVID-19 crisis. So a lot could happen, and let's see what happens. But let's start off with a clip. This is from the Lincoln Project. It's called One Day.
Good morning. Today is the first day of the rest of America's life. One day. One day that will, one way or another, change how this country feels about itself. One last push to get the train back on its tracks. One day that cannot wipe out the last 9 months or the last 4 years, but can clear a path for 1,000 better days ahead. One day America on a tightrope. One day when the entire world is watching, like a parent in the stands, peeking through their fingers. Come on, America, come on. One day that will now play itself out right in front of our eyes, hour by hour, vote by vote, with history on its shoulders. One day that will change our lives forever. It is November 3rd, 2020, America. We have one
day. One day. We have one day, and that was courtesy of the Lincoln Project. And this is a very important day. This is a very, I think people are going to be talking about 2020 for years to come. I know they're going to be talking about the Trump presidency. That should be about the last thing we play. I'm sorry, that got out of order. I'm just looking at my clips. And yeah, let's take a look at those polls. That was good. Let's take a look at the polls. And this is from NBC. And if you scroll down a little, I think, hold on just a second, they were breaking it down by states, unless they've changed that. Well, let's just look at the overall picture. Can you get, see, I really thought, okay, let's work with what we have. I thought, I guess this, they're changing this. That's it, huh? Wow. Well, there we go. The battleground, the states. Here we go. That's what I wanted. So can we show that as I'm talking? Okay. And we're doing that. Okay, good. I have a new producer, and come on, say hello. Say hello to the people.
How you doing?
And you are?
I'm Nick.
All right, Nick. And Nick is here in lieu of Mario today. But let's take a look at some of the polling from the states that really matter. We can start out with, if you'll just scroll up a little, well, no, down a little bit. Yeah, there we go. And then we'll scroll down. So let's look at the states that matter right next door. One that is very important, and we won't know right away. Let's see where we go. There it is. Okay, we won't know right away, but I'm trying to get to Pennsylvania. It was there. There it is. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at the numbers there. And I know you can read for yourself, but I'll just go through it anyway, because this is also, there's an audio version of this program. So if you're not able to watch, I want to let you know what we're talking about here. If you take a look at, there we go, just get it in frame, and there we are. Okay, in Pennsylvania, most recent polls, this is as of yesterday. And from I can never say it. It's Monmouth. There it is. Close enough. University. And they, for Pennsylvania, have Biden at 50%, Trump at 45%. Morning Consult has Biden at 52%, Trump at 43%. However, well, no, that one's the same too. The NBC News Marist poll has, for Pennsylvania, Biden at 50. Oh, pardon me. Yes, Biden at 51 and Trump at 46. And okay, and hey, my producer is multitasking. Nick is all over the place here. Maybe, I don't know. Is he in frame? Can you see him? Okay, no, because you're not looking at me right now. Okay, but I want to scroll down to these other polls at the first opportunity. And so we looked at PA, which is very important, our next door neighbor here in Ohio. Let's look at Florida. Now, here's the one. By the way, here are the states you should be looking at tonight. You should be looking at Pennsylvania for sure. If Biden can win Pennsylvania, that's a major blow to Trump. Trump only won Pennsylvania by very little last time. Florida, Morning Consult has Trump behind, and has Biden at 52% and Trump at 45%. The ABC Washington Post poll has Biden behind. It has Biden at 48% and Trump at 50%. The Siena College New York Times poll has Biden ahead at 47 and Trump at 44. So you do see that these are very close races. And Florida could go either way. Florida has the oldest population in the country, so many retirees and that kind of thing. By the way, I never knew until the last few years. Did you realize Pennsylvania has the second oldest population in the country? Who knew? And I don't know why that is, but that older vote is going to is going to really matter in Florida. And Florida has historically been a very red state, but Democrats have made inroads. Let's keep looking, though. Let's keep looking at the polls. I want to scroll down to Wisconsin, because here's another one. Trump won Wisconsin last time by less than a point. This got into decimal points. And what you notice here, Morning Consult has Biden at 54 and Trump at 41. Siena College New York Times has Trump ahead 52 to 41. Reuters IPOS has Trump at 43, Biden at 53. So that's a heck of a gap. Wisconsin is a major prize. If Joe Biden can pull Wisconsin out, that's going to make all the difference. And let's remember, Hillary famously didn't even bother to go to Wisconsin. And it cost her dearly. Wait a minute, one more before we go back to me. Sorry, we got to look at Michigan, our other next door neighbor. This one's major. Trump also won by less than a percentage point. We're talking a few tens of thousands of votes. This is why it's so important. That's what I'm talking about, folks. People were not excited about Hillary Clinton. You had two very unpopular candidates in 2016, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. A lot of Democrats stayed home. I just heard on the way over that Hillary didn't even bother to in Detroit, that is predominantly black, she didn't even bother to visit. I guess she thought that was all sold up. She didn't even go to Detroit, and she ended up losing the state. But let's see what the numbers are there. You have Morning Consult that has Biden at 52% and Trump at 45%. Epic MRA has 48% for Biden, 41% for Trump. And Reuters IPOS has 52% for Biden and 42% for Trump. And one more, let's scroll down to North Carolina. This is another one that could go either way. Morning Consult has, this is real close, a 1 point difference. Morning Consult, 49% for Biden, 48% for Trump. Survey Monkey has, which I always thought that was weird, Survey Monkey, Axos has Biden at 52% and Trump at 47%. CNN SSRS has Biden at 51% and Trump at 45%. And I guess that's enough. Those are the real states that I'm worried about. Those are the states that can make the difference. So we'll be keep an eye on that. Once again, keep an eye on Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Florida. We'll see what happens there. And let's see. Yeah, we don't. I guess let's look at another clip now. And sorry I'm putting my producer to work here, but that was the one about. No, not that one. That'll be the last thing. Let's see. Not that either. No. Where was the one we had? Well, that's interesting. Just to make a point here, this goes by real quick. It's only about 16 seconds, but this is what bothers me about this president, that he has continued to lie about the coronavirus. And this is from a site called The Recount. And this is the same day. This was on April 13th, 2020. But let's remember, and they intersperse here comments that he made at a COVID-19 briefing on this day, with comments that he made while talking to Bob Woodward. Remember, he started talking to Woodward back in January. He knew how dangerous this was. But anyway, let's play this clip. So it goes by real quick, but this is Donald Trump, what he was telling the American people and what he told Bob Woodward. Same day, different comment.
We want to have our country open. We want to return to normal life. Our country's going to be open. We got to get our country open.
Bob, it's so easily transmissible, you wouldn't even believe it. This thing is a killer if it gets you. If you're the wrong person, you don't have a chance.
Yes, exactly.
We want to have our country open. We want to return to normal life.
But you see what he did there? Same. So this is what I find this very disturbing. The fact that, and then, of course, his excuse was he didn't want to cause a panic. To me, I saw a political cartoon that had a guy standing on the front of the Titanic, and they're just ready to hit the iceberg. And he said, well, I saw it about a mile ago, but I didn't want to cause a panic. The rationale there is ridiculous. If the president had revealed the seriousness of this back in January, as opposed to waiting till, I believe it was March 11th, when he finally addressed the nation and said, hey, folks, we got a problem. If he had been honest with the American people, this would have given us a chance to start implementing the social distancing, the mask, the preparing PPE. Medical professionals could have gotten ready for it. Instead, what happened? And by the way, the other thing that I will criticize the president for is that there was never a central plan. We are the United States of America, but the president chose to let the states fend for themselves. He let and then when they didn't move, or when they asked for help from the federal government, he berated the governors, particularly the governors, I should say exclusively the governors of Democratic states. That was wrong. He should have had a central command and address this as a national problem instead of letting the states do their own thing, letting them compete against one another for PPE. You had the governor of New Jersey actually had to buy stuff from another country. In the greatest country on earth, that's how we handle a pandemic? No, that's how you mishandle a pandemic. But I know it's going to sound like I'm all over the place. This is another thing I found disturbing. I meant to play this last week, and this is from WESH, and this is a story of a guy who basically the boss put out a letter with their paycheck that week saying that if they didn't vote for Trump, they might get laid off. And look what happened when one guy talked to the media. I think this is certainly something you should take a look at. Very un-American, if you ask me.
Paid a visit to Daniels Manufacturing Corporation, workers were hesitant to talk about this letter dropped in their pay envelopes from company president George Daniels. It reads, if Trump and the Republicans win, DMC will hopefully be able to continue operating more or less as it has been operating lately. However, if Biden and the Democrats win, DMC could be forced to begin permanent layoffs beginning in late 2020 and or early 2021.
Do you think he's serious about that, or is he just trying to get you to vote for Trump?
I don't know. He may see this, you know.
Turns out Daniels did see our first report and our interview with Stan Smith.
Did you feel it was intimidating?
No, it's not about intimidating. It's about everybody has a choice to make their own decision. I don't feel like it was correct.
This week, Smith was fired. He believes Daniels, the president of the company that makes tools and electronics for the military, aerospace, and aircraft industries, ordered his termination because he didn't like what he told us. I talked with George Daniels by phone, and he told me that he's been sending the same kind of letter for years and years, and that he has a duty to inform his employees of the possible job consequences of a presidential election outcome. Smith has now hired an attorney who is preparing a lawsuit. Richard Sellers says, we believe that the evidence here is very clear that DMC's intent was to influence its employees to vote for one candidate over another to preserve their jobs. We are confident that this employer not only violated federal and state law, but also illegally terminated our client. Federal election law prohibits intimidation of voters. Penalties include fines and jail time.
This isn't about revenge for who wins the election.
Elaine Parker is with the Job Creators Network, a conservative business group that supports President Trump and is defending Daniels.
Employers have the right to educate their employees about the negative impact of policy, and we believe that they have the obligation to do so.
To keep its 170 employees on the payroll, Daniels applied for PPP, or Paycheck Protection Program money, intended to help businesses through the economic downturn during this pandemic. According to federal records, Daniels Manufacturing may have received up to $2.5 million. At the same time, Daniels has been writing big checks to help President Donald Trump. A WESH 2 News review of campaign records reveals donations of at least $614,000 to the Trump campaign, its PACs, and other Republicans this election cycle. Daniels has not returned our follow-up calls. In Orange County, Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
Another employee who wishes not to be identified tells WESH 2 News workers are hesitant to speak with us about the company letters because they fear.
Yeah, we'll leave that there. And once again, that was from WESH, and that is in Orange County, Florida. So how about that? And I'm glad this guy's taking legal action, and I hope that he prevails because, this is still America. Your boss shouldn't be able to tell you who to vote for. And, gee, what a coincidence. This guy's also a major donor to Donald Trump. That doesn't mean that gives your boss the right to tell you who to vote for. So we'll see what's going on there. The other thing that's been bothering me is, as I brought up earlier, and this is the clip I was talking about. This is from Now This, which is it's admittedly a left-leaning site, but these clips are Trump in his own words. And some of these comments have been made just within the last 24 to 48 hours. But before I do that, real quick, I want to acknowledge the people who are paying attention to what we're doing here. And I'm looking at the comments, and I thank you for watching or listening. And by the way, if you'd like to call, the number is 330-595-1600. 330-595-1600. How do you feel? Are you nervous? A lot of people appear to be. Pamela says, happy belated birthday, Mo, from Venice, Florida. Well, you've got better weather there, and thank you for that. And I'm hoping your state pulls through. You can either send me another comment or you could actually give us a call. I'd like to see what you think. I mean, how are you feeling Florida is going to go, Pamela? And then Tim says, a new POTUS for you and me. My fellow Scorpio. And by the way, Tim's birthday is one day before mine, and mine was yesterday. Thank you, Tim. And he also says the fact that Florida, Texas, and North Carolina, and a few other traditionally heavily red states are very close is very telling. Many citizens are tired of empty Trump promises and stunts and changing demographics of many states. This could be a historic election. Well, there's no doubt about it, Tim. This is an historic election, and for many reasons. The pandemic, as I said, record numbers of voters, and yes, you are seeing in the case of Texas, my native state, where the Republicans have had a stranglehold on Texas since the Ann Richards days. Ann Richards was the last Democratic governor of Texas. Then you had George W. Bush, and then you had Rick Perry there forever, and now you got Greg Abbott. Abbott particularly disturbs me because he seems to be very much into voter disenfranchisement. There it is. Because if I don't know if you remember the situation with the drop box in the county where Houston is. In that county, we're talking about millions of people. And they tried to add additional drop boxes. And Governor Abbott, he wanted to put a stop to that. So in a county that's Harris County, it came to me. In Harris County, he tried to, and by the way, ultimately succeeded. They have one drop box for millions of people. Houston is, I believe, the most populous city in Texas. That's absurd. But this is the kind of stunts they're pulling. Not to mention the fact there was another victory if you're a Democrat. They also did have a drive-through situation for you to drop your ballots off because we're in the middle of a pandemic. Maybe you don't want to stand in line. Maybe you have a health condition. They tried to have 200,000 votes thrown out. Ultimately, a federal judge said, no way. Those votes will remain. And that, come on, we're talking about, I've mentioned before, as far as the Electoral College goes, if you add up the states where Trump won the Electoral College, it was a combined number of about 60,000 votes between three states that brought us the beauty of Donald Trump for the last 4 years. So 100,000 votes in Harris County could make a significant difference in the Lone Star State, a state that has been red for a very long time, as I said. But this is a majority state, and it appears that the presidency of Donald Trump has awakened that sleeping giant, that brown and black giant, that suburban votership that seems to be shifting. I'm not saying all women hate Donald Trump, but I think some things Trump has done has turned a lot of particularly college-educated suburban women off. I think they thought that the brash Donald Trump of the campaign days would settle into the job of president and be a more traditional president. Instead, he's still a kook. He never changed. In fact, for guys like me that were always afraid of him, he was even worse than I thought he'd be. The name calling, the bashing John McCain 9 months after he died. Or let's remember that stunt where Joe Scarborough ran an unflattering piece on him, and he went back 19 years to try to blame Scarborough for the death of a campaign worker. The woman had a heart attack, fell, hit her head on a desk, and she died. He tried to call Joe Scarborough a murderer. Not to mention the fact that this woman's husband was hearing all this and asked the president to stop, but he continued. This went on for a long time. And by the way, as far as there were never any charges against Scarborough. And also, the woman died in Florida, and Scarborough, at the time of her death, was in Washington, D.C. So this is the president we have. He doesn't care who he hurts as long as he comes out on top. It's a terrible character trait in anyone. It is a dangerous character trait in a president of the United States. And I think you're going to see that negative character trait play out in the coming days, because he is not going to accept the results. And let's take a look at some of the comments he's made. And as I said, this is nothing new. You have projections made on election night, but the votes are counted long after election night and always have been. But let's see him mischaracterize this.
Who won or lost? I want to find out legitimately who won or lost on November 3rd. I'm not looking to find out. You would think you'd want to have the votes counted, tabulated, finished by the evening of November 3rd. You're allowed to wait days to count and days to have the final count. You're allowed to have time limits beyond November 3rd.
I don't think it's fair that we have to wait a long period of time after the election.
And we'll see what happens at the end of the day. Hopefully it won't go longer than that.
I think it's a terrible thing when ballots can be collected after an election. I think it's a terrible thing when people or states are allowed to tabulate ballots for a long period of time after the election is over.
It's highly likely you're not going to have a decision because Pennsylvania is very big. This is a terrible thing that they've done to our country. And that's the United States Supreme Court I'm talking about. That is a terrible, political, horrible decision that they made.
And so there you have, let's remember now, this is Trump's Supreme Court for the most part. This is, you've got, I don't know if Amy Coney Barrett was allowed to, I don't know if she was ready to, I don't know if she was ready to what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if she voted on that one. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So, but either way, the Supreme Court decided. In fact, I do remember that Roberts sided with the more liberal members and a couple of conservatives. They said, look, no, this is the way it is, Mr. President. It's always been that way. And I just think it's terrible the way that this guy's trying to make it sound like there's something bad going on here when there's not. Odds are we're not going to know tonight. We definitely won't know in PA because of, as if you saw there on the graphics. And did you see the states that were mentioned? The very states that I mentioned earlier: Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Keep an eye on those. Florida, very concerned about Florida. My gosh, if Florida flips, Donald Trump is toast. If Pennsylvania goes for Biden, that makes it harder for Trump to get a foot in the Electoral College door. So we will be watching very closely. I wanted to look at a couple more comments. Julie says, my anxiety level is through the roof. I can't conceive of 4 more years of this criminal. And as far as the anxiety level, yeah, I was, a friend of mine suggested that I pop a Xanax before this show. I did not, but I may later. But, and let's see, Linda says, happy birthday, Mo. Joe has to win today or I'm leaving for Canada. Well, good luck with that because they're not taking us. That's the hard part about it, unless you've got dual citizenship or something. Of course, I love it. I mean, of course, I've heard people on the other side say if Biden wins, they're going to move. And I forgot where they were going. They weren't so much for going to Canada. I guess Canada's too liberal for them. They were going, Panama, of all places, because Panama has gun rights similar to ours. And there's quite a few English speakers there. So, in fact, John McCain was born in Panama. His dad was in the Navy, but he was, he was an American citizen because he was born on a military base. But a couple more comments. Let's see. Matt says, hey, Mo. Oh, hello, Matt. I had the pleasure of meeting Matt and having a nice lunch with him the other day. And let's see. Tim says, women 18 plus, persons 18 to 34, and people of color will determine who wins, in my humble opinion. Well, I think I kind of alluded to that earlier, Tim. That is going to be a big difference. I think the youth contingent is major. I think, and as I said, in some of these states, particularly in states like South Carolina and Georgia that have high black populations, almost 30% blacks in South Carolina. Georgia is even higher. And I'm telling you, I cannot speak for all black people, but the numbers don't lie. The majority of those people are not going to be voting for Donald Trump. No doubt about that. The question is, will Trump supporters come out in droves? So this is going to be a nail biter, and we may not know for at least, I would love to know tomorrow, but chances are it could be Thursday or even Friday before we know. So, but let's just, let's try to remain calm. And you know what bothers me about this? A decent president, a normal president, would let the tabulations take place, would let the system do its job, and would not instigate the way this president does. The longer this is strung out, the longer he will stir the pot. And as I said, that is so unpresidential. This is not us versus them. This is, I'm the president, and I should be trying to console the people, trying to instill faith in our institutions. Instead, he's doing just the opposite. And I find that very disgusting. But let's take a look at, let's see. Matt says, how else do you become a billionaire? Okay. And once again, I'm giving the number. I am determined to get a phone call. I want to hear from somebody at 330-595-1600, 330-595-1600. But here's an interesting take from Glenn Beck. And Glenn Beck seems to think this is bigger than just Democrats versus Republicans. And I never heard this angle, but check him out.
For about 10 years, I never had a dream. I never went into REM sleep. And it was really bad for my body. But I had a dream, and I don't think it was a dream because I hadn't had one in 10 years. And it was so terrifying to me that I couldn't even tell my wife for about 6 months. Later, about a year later, I had the same vision when I was meeting with somebody like Kenneth Copeland, who that I really, really respect. And they called me out of the blue and said, can you come see me? And I said, sure. And I went to see them, and it took a lot to travel there. And I sat down, I said, yes. And they said, Sometimes the Lord speaks to us in dreams. And that night before, I had had that dream a second time. And I'd only told my wife. And I said, uh-huh. And he said, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I said, uh-huh. And he said, don't dismiss that. And I said, okay. He said, promise me, do not dismiss that. And I said, I won't. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. And I went home, got on a plane and flew back home. It wasn't until this spring, I had almost dismissed it, but I had made a promise not to, because it didn't fit anymore until this spring. And all of a sudden it took on completely new meaning. And I just warn you that we are in a spiritual battle against evil unleashed. We are not fighting the Democrats. We are fighting Satan himself.
We were having some technical problems with the phone. Matt, you might want to, Matt's laughing. Okay. Hopefully, did it go through?
It looks like it.
Okay. All right. Okay, because hopefully we are able to do our telephone call here. Matt, are you there? Or whoever? Okay, well, once again, the number is 330-595-1600. Might be having some problems with the phone, but if even so, okay, wait a minute. So where are we? Got a call?
Hi, Mo.
Hello, how you doing?
This is Greg Bowman calling.
Okay, hold on. Let's crank him up just a little because I want to. How are we hearing that over there, Joe? Because in the past, sometimes callers don't come through. Everything sound good? Go. There we go. Hold on just a minute. Go ahead, caller.
Okay, this is Greg Bowman calling.
Yes, sir, Greg.
Mahoning County.
Yes, sir.
And I'm with a new group called Protect the Results Mahoning Valley.
Okay. Well, tell us about it.
This is an organization that's forming here just in case somebody, one of the candidates would not honor the election or wouldn't have a positive response to it. We would try to give people a chance to come to the streets there in downtown Youngstown and do what they need to do.
Well, I think that I'm concerned about it. I mean, when you hear the president talk the way he talks, I mean, let's face it. I mean, Joe Biden's already said he would accept the results, but the president seems to be, in fact, he's already talking about legal challenges and all that. Does that concern you?
Oh, it does indeed. And we're thinking if the results were unclear, or as you said earlier, if they weren't fully counted and he would declare a victory, or if there's critical irregularities somewhere in the country, or if the election results will be clear and he wouldn't honor them. Those are the three kind of things where the National Protect the Results group would mobilize all the local chapters around the country. And if that be the case, then the members here who are signed up at Protect the Results Mahoning Valley would be called out. We'll meet at the Lambros Courthouse downtown and make our discontent known with that kind of illegal behavior that wouldn't honor the election and the will of the people of the country.
But once again, though, you got the president talking about his lawyers are ready to move on this, and this thing could go as far as Supreme Court. And how convenient that now he's got a newly appointed justice on that Supreme Court. I'm not going to question her integrity, because sometimes, even though, you've had people who are chosen by conservative Republicans that turn out to be a swing vote, as in the case of Chief Justice Roberts. He has swung a couple of times. But it does concern me that the very fact that you would get involved in these court, not you, but that the president would get involved in these court cases would taint the results somehow for some people. They would say, well, if he's taking it to court, there must be something wrong with it, because some people don't fully understand how the system works.
Well, that's why we think it's so important that whatever happens legally around the world, when there's an attempt to seize power by somebody, unless you have really organized, disciplined, nonviolent action of a lot of people in the streets, and it's very visible, you don't have the pressure and the support for well-meaning and good intentioned politicians to really stand their ground and do the right thing. And just let the normal process of election take place. So if anybody here wants to see how this works, they go to protect the results at the national level, protecttheresults.com, punch in your zip code, and see where you would have the most local chapter. I believe there's a chapter in Akron, there's one here in Youngstown, and probably there's 4 or 5 over in Pittsburgh for your Western Pennsylvania listeners. But by doing that, you'll be able to sign up here with at a group called Mobilize, and we'll be able to let people know when there's an action planned by text or by email or by phone if you give us a phone number. Because we really want to give people a chance here. No matter who you voted for, we all want the election to be honored and the candidates to let the system run its course, because it's well-oiled, it works, we just need to give it time and not try to force the results because of a lot of suspicion that's been created around the process.
All right. Well, I thank you for that information. You want to give that website one more time? I got another caller, but I'll let you give that information one more time.
That's fine. The group is called protecttheresults.com. And if you go there and put in your zip code, it'll tell you which one is most close. There's also a Protect the Results Mahoning Valley Facebook page, which keeps you up to date on events here in the Valley.
All right. Well, I thank you for your call and that useful information, and let's hope for the best.
And thank you, Mo. And I give you a hello from Daphne Carr. Hopes to be sitting with you again sometime.
Oh my gosh, Daphne! She is a ball of energy. She's a very positive force. And tell her hello for me. Okay.
I'll do that. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir. All right. Let's take that next call. Caller? Oh, he's working on it. Hello, caller.
Hey, Mo, how are you?
All right. Might want to turn him up just a little. Okay. Who am I speaking to?
This is Matt Moorhead. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, Matt. And what are your comments today?
I think, I think one thing we should keep in mind when you're talking about the pending lawsuits he's threatening to file. He's 0-6 so far on every lawsuit he's filed against an election.
That works for me.
Election, trying to slow down votes. So he's 0-6. So some of that, I think, is probably just his normal business. I'll sue you. He's not winning these lawsuits. So I think there's a lot of people involved in the election. So I think everybody just needs to relax and let people count. The people inside counting votes aren't going to be miscounting votes. They do this for every year. They practice this twice a year.
Well, I'm glad to hear, and I'm glad to hear you have faith in the system, and I believe we should have faith in the system. But as I said, does it bother you that we have a president of the United States that keeps trying to undermine that very same system?
Well, yes, it's the blasphemy to our democracy when he speaks about stopping and counting votes. I mean, that's what he's talking about.
Yes.
He wants to stop counting votes the minute the polling machine shut off. Now, how is that even possible? That's never been done in the history of this country.
Exactly right.
But suddenly, when he's trailing in the polls and he's suspecting that the voter turnout today will probably be redder than blue, so he'd like to have those votes counted and be done with it. That's what he's saying.
Yep. I got it.
That's silly. That's not whether you're a Democrat or Republican, we do this. We've done this all of our lives. We go vote, and at the end of this, when they get done counting, they say, this is who won, and we move on.
Well, hopefully.
And that's the way.
No, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, I hope the people of this country think about that. He can say whatever he wants. I mean, he says he's a lunatic back half the time, the things he tweets. So if he wants to say crazy things, then fine, say him. You're just. I mean, that's the color you are. I mean, that's who he is.
Yeah. Well, the color is orange, by the way. But anyway, I'm gonna move on. I thank you, Matt. I'm trying to. I'm trying to get one more clip I want to play, but thank you very much, sir. Okay.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye. And real quick, I'm gonna start this up. Let's take a look at what happened this weekend, in case you haven't heard about it. This was down in Texas, and I'll apologize for the quality of the video, but this was a bunch of Trump's supporters welcoming the Biden-Harris bus to Texas. Yeah, there is no audio on this. I just want you to see what happened. And by the way, as I said, watch what happens with this one car. This car is the side swipe there. That car has California plates. That car was trying to get behind the bus, and then the big bad truck just pushes them out of the way. So. But this went down, and then Don Jr., by the way, suggested that they do the same thing to Kamala Harris, and they had to cancel, by the way. Biden-Harris had to cancel at least 2, if not 3 events in Texas because of this, I will call it fascist behavior. You can go back to me. And but even worse, the president tweets, I love Texas, after watching his goons behave in this fashion. I find it disturbing. I find it just despicable for the president of the United States to behave in this way. And then he got upset because the FBI is going to investigate it. As well they should. Real quick, though, and this will be a parting shot. First Lady Melania Trump said yesterday that we are respected in the world again. Is that a video? Yes, there is video. Well, I don't know about that. In Berlin let's go back. Yeah, in Berlin at Madame Tussauds, they've already dumped Donald Trump's wax figure. Apparently, and the Europeans cannot stand this guy. So, are we respected again? You got to see this for yourself, and this will be our way out the door. Go ahead.
Ja. Ich will sagen, guck mal, sieht das um die Ecke.
Okay, we can come back. I've got to admit, and we won't have time for any more clips. We're out of time. But I've got to admit, I think the smiling Obama figure was even better. I mean, because that was insult to injury. But that's what our allies think of us. I got to get out of here because, well, it's Joe and Doug coming up next. But I just want you to, if you haven't voted, if you're registered, you still have time to get to the polls. This is too important. Real quick, final comments. Not one Republican said a thing about that. Now she's talking, that's Julie talking about the incident with the Biden-Harris bus. And Tim says, it's a huge blue win in down ballot races everywhere. I bet the GOP will have something to say. And that was brought up earlier. And there's a big one here I don't have time to read, but I'll just tell you this, something else somebody's bringing up. Here's the other thing that people aren't talking about nearly as much. We only need about 3 seats. Democrats are definitely going to gain seats in the House, and there's a very good chance, even Mitch McConnell said 50-50. It's actually higher than that. There's a very good chance the Democrats will take control of the Senate. So no more Mitch McConnell playing Grim Reaper. If Joe Biden wins, that would be the trifecta. But even if Donald Trump wins, he will be severely hindered as to what he can do going forward with the Democrats in charge of both chambers of Congress. So that's something to look forward to. I will see you, hopefully we'll know something when I see you again on Thursday. I want to thank Nick for doing a great job. I think his first time at the controls here. Well done, sir. I'm Mo Ray saying, as I always do on this historic day, keep your eyes on the prize.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown content, and we would appreciate you sharing the videos and the word about us. Thank you.